My girlfriend told me not to attend her reunion because I'd embarrass her, so I left without a fight. Hi, I'm Ethan, I'm 31, and last month my relationship ended because my girlfriend told me to stay home, not because she was angry, but because she was embarrassed to be seen with me. She said it casually, like she was asking me to water the plants. We were standing in our bedroom while she held up a navy blue dress against herself, the kind with a sharp cut that screamed reunion revenge. The dress didn't match the room at all. Our room was all neutral tones, second-hand furniture, quiet life. She was trying on a version of herself that didn't live there. Do I look successful enough? Madeline asked, tilting her head, eyes locked on her reflection. You look great, I said. I meant it. I always did. She didn't smile. She sighed, scrolled on her phone, then muttered, Ugh, of course he's coming. Who? I asked. Lucas Reed, she said. Remember him? Barely passed math, now he runs some finance startup. Bought a condo downtown. Drives a Porsche. I nodded like this information mattered. Her 10-year high school reunion had turned into a months-long operation. New gym routine. New clothes. New laugh. My role, apparently, was still being defined. So what time should I be ready on Saturday? I asked. Are we going together or? She froze. That's when the air changed. She turned slowly, smile already rehearsed, eyes careful. About that. Ethan, it's just, this crowd is very status-oriented. I didn't interrupt. A lot of people did really well, she continued. Doctors. Founders. Consultants. And I just don't want to spend the whole night explaining, you. There it was. I mean, she rushed on. You're still figuring things out. IT support. Contract work. Certifications. It's not bad, it's just. She stopped, then said the word cleanly, efficiently, like she'd practiced it in her head. It's embarrassing. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her that 2 years ago I rebuilt her entire marketing presentation at 2 a.m., while she cried on the floor convinced she'd ruined her future. I just nodded. Okay, I said. Relief flooded her face instantly. She smiled, kissed my cheek, already reaching for her phone. You're the best, she said. We'll do something nice tomorrow. Just us. She left an hour later. At 2:14 a.m. She came home to an apartment with nothing in it but silence, and a note on the counter that said, You don't need to be embarrassed anymore. The moment the door locked behind her, the apartment felt like a hotel room after checkout, still recognizable, but no longer meant for anyone. I stood there for a full 60 seconds, not moving, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the distant city noise through the window. No anger. No tears. Just something sharp and clean clicking into place inside my chest. Clarity. I didn't pace. I didn't sit down. I grabbed my phone and called my brother. Hey, Caleb answered, winded, like he'd been lifting weights. Shouldn't you be at home pretending to care about high school politics? I need your truck, I said. Tonight. Pause. You okay? She told me not to come to her reunion. Said I'd embarrass her. I replied, like I was reading the weather. I'm moving out while she's gone. Another pause, longer this time. Then, I'm on my way. That's why I called him first. The next 2 hours were mechanical. I wasn't packing a life, I was extracting myself. I started with the essentials. Passport. Birth certificate. Laptop. The small metal box with my grandfather's watch inside. Clothes went into suitcases based on usefulness, not memories. Work shirts. Jeans. Jackets. I left the expensive blazer she'd bought me hanging in the closet like a ghost she'd have to explain. Furniture was a negotiation with reality. The bed frame was hers, thin, trendy, always squeaking. I left it. The mattress was mine. Bought with my first decent paycheck. I dragged it upright against the living room wall, A silent white accusation. My bookshelf. Solid wood. Mine. I emptied it fast, the thud of books hitting boxes echoing louder than I expected. My TV came off the wall next. I wiped my profiles, logged out of everything, erased myself digitally before I did it physically. Caleb arrived without a word. He took one look at my face, calm, empty, focused, and just nodded. Tell me what to lift. We worked without music, without commentary. Just logistics. Angles. Weight. Stairwells. Halfway through, he stopped while holding a box of my kitchen stuff. The good knife. The cast iron pan. You're freaking me out, man, he said quietly. You don't even seem sad. I looked around the apartment. It already felt like a set after the actors had left. I'm not numb, I said. I'm done. He exhaled slowly. Okay. Then let's finish. The last thing I did was sit at the bare kitchen counter and write the note. No drama. No accusations. Madeline. I've taken my things. My half of the rent is paid through the end of the month. The key is on the counter. Do not contact me. I placed the key beside it. When we closed the truck, my entire life fit into the back like it had been waiting for this moment. I didn't feel free. I felt light, like someone had cut my tether, and I was drifting forward whether I wanted to or not. Let's go, I said. And we drove away. The first crack in her perfect night happened without me being anywhere near it. I didn't know that yet. What I did know was that Caleb's spare room smelled like laundry detergent and old cardboard, and the futon sounded like it was dying every time I shifted my weight. It was the smallest, plainest space I'd lived in since college, and somehow, it felt safer than the apartment I'd just erased myself from. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. IT help desk. Password resets. Printers that just stopped working. The world didn't end because my girlfriend decided I was inconvenient. Servers still went down. Tickets still piled up. Life kept moving, and that alone felt grounding. I blocked her number before lunch. Not out of anger. Out of hygiene. For the first week, I lived quietly. Too quietly. Wake up. Work. Eat. Sleep. Repeat. Caleb didn't push. He knew better. Every time he glanced at me like he expected a breakdown, I just nodded at the TV or asked if he wanted tacos. Then, on day 8, something shifted. It wasn't sadness. It was space. One evening, instead of scrolling through nothing, I opened my laptop and searched for the cloud security certification I'd been talking about for years. Madeline always had a reason it wasn't the right time. Too expensive. Too intense. You're already tired. I paid for it using money I'd been saving for a weekend trip she wanted. The confirmation email hit harder than any argument ever had. That same night, I got a message request from Owen, a mutual friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Hey man. Random, but are you okay? I hesitated, then replied. Yeah. Why? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I saw Madeline at the reunion. That was the moment. Not a spike of jealousy. Not regret. Just professional curiosity. And? I typed. His reply came in fragments, like he was choosing words carefully. She showed up alone. People asked about you. She said you had a work emergency. Then someone mentioned how she used to call you her anchor. I felt my stomach tighten for half a second, then it passed. She kind of froze, Owen continued. Left early. Drank a lot. It was awkward. The words sat there on my screen. Awkward. The thing she'd feared more than anything. I stared at the message, then closed my laptop. For the first time since that night, I smiled, not because she was unraveling, but because I wasn't. She'd built a performance that required me to exist offstage. I simply exited the theater. Her version of the story started circulating a week later. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from the edges, from people who didn't know which side they were supposed to be on yet. First, it was a text from an unknown number. "Ethan, this is immature. You don't just disappear." I read it while eating cereal out of a plastic bowl at Caleb's kitchen counter. No emotion. No response. The next day, another number. "I'm sorry if what I said came out wrong. You know how stressed I was. Come home. We can talk. You took it the wrong way." The universal rewrite. I archived it. By day 3, the tone shifted. "The apartment is so empty. I can't sleep. This is cruel. Cruel." I laughed out loud at that one. Not because it was funny, because it was familiar. Everything was always cruel when I stopped making her comfortable. Then came the call. Lauren, her best friend. The designated negotiator. I let it ring twice before answering. "Ethan," she said, voice tight with manufactured concern. "You need to call Madeline. She's not okay." Silence. "This whole thing has gotten blown way out of proportion," Lauren continued. She made one comment. "People say stupid things under pressure." Still silence. "You're being really cold," she added. "This isn't how adults handle conflict." That's when I spoke. "Lauren," I said evenly, "this isn't your relationship. Please don't call me again." She inhaled sharply, like she hadn't expected resistance. I ended the call and blocked her number. That night, the voicemail came through from yet another unknown number. Her voice was different now, thick, shaky, unfiltered. "You humiliated me," she slurred. "You were supposed to fight for me. You were supposed to prove I was wrong." There it was. Not regret. Not remorse. Failure of narrative. She didn't miss me. She missed the role I played. I deleted the voicemail without saving it. 2 days later, I ran into her in person. At my gym, the one she used to mock as sad. She was leaning against my car, hoodie pulled tight, eyes red, posture small. When she saw me, her face lit up with relief like I was a solution she'd been chasing. "Ethan," she said. "Please. Just talk to me." I stopped a few feet away. "You shouldn't be here," I said calmly. Her eyes filled instantly. "I was stressed. I didn't mean it. You know image matters in my field." She reached for my arm. "You're my person," she whispered. "I can't do this without you." I gently removed her hand. "No," I said. "I'm not." I got into my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, she didn't chase me. She just stood there, watching something she thought was permanent finally leave. 6 months is enough time for silence to turn into structure. I moved out of Caleb's place into a small one-bedroom with sunlight that actually reached the floor. No decorative pillows. No rules about candles. Just space that belonged to me. I bought a cheap desk, a real chair, and a coffee maker that hissed like it meant business. The certification exam came first. I passed. Not by luck. By early mornings, quiet nights, and the kind of focus you only get when no one is telling you you're behind. 2 weeks later, my manager called me into his office and said the words I'd been circling for years. Security analyst. Not flashy. Not reunion brag worthy. But real. Around the same time, I reconnected with Nate, an old friend I'd drifted from after Madeline once called him a downer. We met for a beer. No posturing. No competition. Just laughter that felt rusty but honest. That became my new life. Smaller. Quieter. Mine. I almost forgot about her, almost. Until one Saturday morning, at a coffee shop near my apartment, sitting across from Maya, a woman from my study group. Sharp. Dry humor. No interest in pretending to be impressed by anything. I was explaining a network diagram using a napkin when the air shifted. I looked up. Madeline stood near the door, holding a to-go cup like it was a prop she'd forgotten how to use. She looked worn. Not older, just thinned out. Like someone who'd been holding their breath too long. Maya followed my gaze. Friend of yours? Not even remotely, I said calmly. Madeline walked over anyway. Ethan, she said softly. Hi. I didn't smile. I didn't stand. There's nothing to talk about, I said. Her eyes flicked to Maya. The mask slipped. I see you moved on, she snapped. So that's it. I was just a placeholder. I met her gaze, steady, clear. I left because you told me who you were, I said. I believed you. She opened her mouth. I didn't wait. My life is peaceful now, I added. You're not part of it. I turned back to Maya and picked up the napkin. So, where was I? Oh, right. The firewall wasn't the problem. Madeline stood there for a moment longer, then left. I didn't watch. After that coffee shop, she finally disappeared. No more unknown numbers. No more late-night messages written in regret and entitlement. No more friends testing the water on her behalf. Whatever script she'd been clinging to had run out of lines. And that's when the real work began. Not healing in the dramatic way people like to post about, but rebuilding in silence. My days settled into a rhythm that felt almost boring, which I learned was a compliment. Mornings started early. Coffee. 30 minutes of studying before work. No one rolling their eyes at my focus. No one asking if I was sure this was worth the effort. At work, people started coming to me instead of around me. My opinions mattered. My notes got quoted in meetings. When something broke, my name was attached to the fix. It felt earned. Maya and I stayed friends. Nothing rushed. No tension disguised as flirting. Just conversations that didn't require me to shrink or perform. She never asked why I left my last relationship. She didn't need a villain or a sob story. She took me as I was, present tense. One night, sitting alone in my apartment, I realized something unsettling. I couldn't remember the sound of Madeline's laugh. Not clearly. It had once filled rooms. Now it was just an echo I couldn't quite place. That's when the final message came, not from her, but from Daniel, someone I barely knew from her reunion circle. Hey man. Random, but I wanted to say something. I hesitated, then opened it. I was at that reunion. You didn't miss anything. A lot of people saw through the whole thing. Just thought you should know. I stared at the screen. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Closure. I typed back a simple reply. Thanks. Take care. And meant it. I didn't save the conversation. Some chapters don't need receipts. The last time I heard her name, it didn't sting. That was how I knew it was really over. It came up casually, the way old news does, over pizza with coworkers after a late deployment. Someone mentioned a marketing firm downtown, then someone else mentioned a woman who used to work there who burned out kind of publicly. I recognized the description before the name even landed. I felt nothing. No tight chest. No urge to defend or explain. Just a quiet acknowledgement, like hearing about a street you used to live on getting repaved. Later that night, walking home, I replayed the moment she'd said the word embarrassing. Not with pain, with curiosity. It was the moment she thought she was naming me. But what she actually named was herself. I'd spent years making myself smaller so she could feel bigger in comparison. I called it support. I called it love. What it really was consent. And withdrawing it changed everything. That night, I sat on my couch, lights off, city noise drifting through the window, and understood something that felt almost dangerous in its simplicity. I didn't win. I left. And that was enough. A year later, I stood in my own kitchen making coffee for 2 people. Not because someone expected it. Not because it fit an image. Just because it felt natural. Maya leaned against the counter, barefoot, reading something on her phone, hair still messy from sleep. The place smelled like coffee and toast and quiet mornings. Real ones, not the staged kind meant for social proof. You're thinking again, she said without looking up. Yeah. I admitted. Just remembering who I used to be. She smiled. Glad you're not him anymore. So was I. Later that day, I walked past the old apartment building by accident. The windows looked smaller than I remembered. The place felt like a prop from a former life. No pull. No bitterness. Just distance. I realized something then. Being told to stay home was the kindest insult I ever received. Because it forced me to leave. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Completely. I didn't become impressive. I didn't become rich. I didn't become someone worth showing off. I became someone who didn't need to be. And that turned out to be everything. Thanks for listening.